Hello, I am Mark Johnston, and this is going to be a very new thing I'm doing. You obviously won't know who I am. Hopefully, that will change over time. I'm going to be talking about the English cricket team, giving my views and takes on it. Now, I know what you're probably wondering if you're watching this. Obviously, it'll be new because this is something very new that I'm doing. You'll probably be thinking, why the hell should I listen to this guy? Please bear with me. I hope I can provide some insight and some new perspective, I guess. I think a lot of it is going to be very much what's already been discussed, but trying to bring my own take on it, if that kind of makes sense. So, kind of hope that that comes across in the right way for anyone who's watching this, and maybe you might end up learning something. Who knows? I mean, I've never really been known to be much of a teacher, so you never know. To get started, I think one of the heaviest debated topics in English cricket at the moment is the Test team after that Ashes tour that really got away from them, and mainly over player spots. And I think after we've had the first couple of rounds, we've had the first round of the county championship happen last week, and then as I'm filming today, day one of the second round started today. And it's really opened up some questions that I don't think we'd really had beforehand. First one being, where does Jamie Smith fit into the team now? Because he's come into this county cricket season under a lot of stress and under a lot of pressure because he didn't live up to expectations during that Ashes series. Now, I've always thought Jamie Smith is a quality player. I don't think anyone was doubting that he was. But the main debate there was, how can this guy be England's main wicketkeeper when he's not even the main first choice keeper for his county, Surrey, where Ben Foakes is, who's also having a very good start to this season. But Jamie Smith has hit 200s. He's hit two big hundreds batting at number 3, which is very different than his role for England, where he bats at number 7. So that kind of opens up that question of saying, well, hang on a minute, this guy can get runs at the top of the order, and he was doing it in tough conditions today. He was playing Leicestershire, and it was a really green wicket. I'll see if I can find a picture and give you a bit of perspective. Getting, I think, what was it, 160 odd? I think it was about 160 off 240 balls or something like that. Anyway, he was a huge part of the reason why Surrey piled on the runs like they did today. Along with Ollie Pope, another player that has a lot of question marks over his head. So it's kind of opened up the debate of, does Jamie Smith keep his spot as a wicketkeeper that bats at 7, or does he potentially come in as a batter that will come in towards the top of the order, maybe even opening? Because I don't think either of the openers have really got a settled spot this summer. Well, assuming so, because I mean, we all know the English management likes to stick to their guns. They're very stubborn. Rob Key and Brendan McCullum. Chances are the same names will probably get in the 11 straight away. Chances are, even though Zach Crawley has done next to nothing so far in the county championship, and Ben Duckett played his first innings of the summer today, only made 25. So it really wasn't much to go off for a lot of these mainstay England players, and it really opens up the questions of who really deserves a spot this summer. I think the other main question as well is about Harry Brook, because he's opted out of the IPL. I mean, he did previously anyway, and with the IPL rules about a player dropping out unless it's for injury or other commitments, then it's a 2-year ban from entering the IPL auction. I think Harry Brook was already going through that. The main question there was, being as he's not playing in the IPL, surely he would start in the county championship. However, it's only been announced that he's only available for one game. He's made himself available, I think, for one game for Yorkshire this summer, which is against Surrey. I forget whether that's home or away. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Him and Joe Root have made themselves available for that. Joe Root is never going to be in that discussion of, will he or won't he get in the team. I don't think he'll ever be in that discussion. He's a great of the game. Definitely the best England has ever had in Test cricket. But Harry Brook especially, he had an unusual winter. I thought he wasn't a bad captain in the T20 World Cup, and I don't think he's necessarily like at risk at losing his spot necessarily, but I do think he needs to get his practice in, especially at test level, because the calibre of player that he was and the way that he was playing in the Ashes series wasn't a player out of form. That was a player that wasn't applying himself during the key moments when England needed him to. And, you know, test cricket, I mean Ashes cricket, but test cricket in general, requires a batter to apply themselves, especially in Australia where it's so tough to play. I mean, you rarely see overseas batters go there and do well. And when you do, it's usually a really memorable knock. The main ones that come to mind is Cheteshwar Pujara when he's come over there and for the Border Gavaskar Trophy, and he's scored a lot of runs. Another knock that comes to mind is Virat Kohli's 100 in the previous Border Gavaskar Trophy in Perth. These are really good innings, but they had to really work hard for those. Whereas Harry Brook and a lot of the English team clearly weren't willing to do that. The only ones who really, I personally think, applied themselves were Joe Root and in the end Jacob Bethel for the last couple of games. So I thought it was a really weird mix of, not really, it was just disappointing, wasn't it? You think the calibre of players that England have and they just didn't apply themselves. Which is why it really surprises me why Harry Brook, especially, the calibre of player that he is, isn't starting in the county championship. I mean, there could be other reasons that we don't know, but ultimately you would think if the statements you've made towards committing to playing for England are true, why would you only be available for one game out of the starting block of county championship matches? Especially, you know, when Yorkshire play in Division 1, he's playing a good standard. I don't understand it, unless there's, as I said, there's other reasons. Surely he would be playing. Now, I think for the bowlers, it's a very different conversation because obviously workload comes into it and you have to look after player welfare. But I mean, I think Jofra Archer, specifically, he was able to play 3 of the tests in the Ashes series, the first 3 test matches, and I was surprised he managed to get through that, to be honest. I thought that was a good effort, considering his history with injuries, and overall he did really well in that Ashes series. But the main thing that got away from him was discipline. But then you're seeing him bowl for the Rajasthan Royals in the IPL, and you're seeing the discipline is all coming back. He is bowling with a lot of discipline. His lines and lengths are really tight. Other examples are, well, Josh Tongue started in the county championship today. He didn't get to bowl because Yorkshire were... Oh wait, what am I talking about? Yes, he did get to bowl. I was thinking about a different game. Yes, not to play in Glamorgan, give you a brief rundown. Not scored, 270 odd, and Glamorgan struggled with the bat earlier on. I know Josh Tongue started out really well with the ball. It's good to see him bowling. Bryden Castle is someone we haven't really seen yet in the county championship for Durham, but in fairness, he did play all 5 Ashes tests, so I'm not really going to be on it too much on his case. I don't think he needs too much on his case. All things considered, I think he had a decent Ashes series. I don't think his spot is under any jeopardy. That's me personally. And then I think Matt Potts as well for Durham is bowling really well. He started brilliantly in the county championship. But the other conversation is around the Sussex captain, Ollie Robinson, who's played for England before and he's hungry to get back in that team. He's made that blatantly obvious in interviews that he's done. And he's bowling really well in the county championship. Picked up a fifer in his first innings of this year against Leicestershire. And as captain as well, I think it's really made him hungry for success. Not that he wasn't already, but I think it's made him hungrier, which is a massive advantage to him and also the England selectors, because I think you're looking at all these options potentially around the counties and thinking, well, we're spoilt for choice here. You know, we have so many options that we could go to with the ball and with the bat. So why aren't we exploring those? Another key player that's a part of this county championship, the start of this year's county championship, is Ben McKinney, who scored over 200 not out today. and chances are will probably go on and score even more tomorrow. He's been in phenomenal form. I don't know how he doesn't get in the England team soon. I mean, I think he's done more than Zach Crawley. He's done more than Ben Duckett. The only thing that's not on his side is age. I think he is early 20s, but when has that ever stopped England? Jacob Bethel's in the team and he's doing well. So I think it's probably about time to give him a go. You have Pakistan and New Zealand in the summer. Why not give him a go? The other main name that keeps coming up in every conversation, and I think he has for the last couple of years, to be honest, is Somerset's James Rew. Now bear in mind, he's 22 years old. 22 years old, he scored 12 first-class hundreds. That's more hundreds than a lot of players score in their professional careers, and he's done that at 22 years old. So how the hell does he not get in the English team, in the England team? He's been in the squad before against Zimbabwe, but he hasn't had the opportunity to play. But the only thing I will say about that is that it's a very awkward situation how he comes into the English team, because if Brendan McCullum and Rob Key are very keen about keeping the squad they have, then James Rew doesn't really fit in that team. The only real options that you really have for him is that he comes in to keep wicket and bats at 7, which I personally think is way too low for a player of his calibre, a batter of his calibre especially. But also, the other option is to have him open the batting. But even then, I don't think he's ever done that in his professional career before, so it's a really awkward situation for England. Like, where does he fit in? Because that middle order is relatively set. They're not going to change Joe Root from number 4. I have a feeling Jacob Bethel's probably locked his position in at number 3 for the summer, considering his performances in the Ashes. And Harry Brooks, let's be honest, Harry Brook isn't going anywhere either. So it's going to be a really awkward position for England if they do decide to go the James Rew route. But he deserves a call up at least. If not a Test debut. I would personally really like to see a player like him come into the side. Give him the opportunity. Why not? You're playing Pakistan and New Zealand. Not saying that they're bad sides or anything like that. But I think straight after an Ashes series, it's the perfect time to experiment with your team a little bit. They've done it before. That was the reason this whole movement came to be. It was after the 2021-22 Ashes series disaster, and they decided they needed a change. They were being too tentative, and now they've sort of gone the other way and been too aggressive. So they need to find that middle ground. And I think James Rew, at a young age, has a very good understanding of that because he's played both types of innings. So I really can't see how it's going to be long before he gets in the English team. But that's just my view. I mean, maybe you have other players that you have in mind in the county circuit. If you do, let me know in the comments. I'll be very eager to know who you guys potentially think could be in that English setup. But it's a very complex conversation at the moment.